Sit back down.
Oh my God.
I told you to stand up. What?
I just need to start the teleprompter. All right, we good? All right. One of the most integral parts of your car, at least one of the main parts that keep you on the road, is your suspension. Now, naturally, as car enthusiasts, we can't leave anything alone or stock for that matter. And suspension is a huge point of modification when it comes to modifying our cars. Whether it be for performance, looks, or any other reason, there are plenty of aftermarket modifications out there. However, just like any other aftermarket aspect of our cars, there are just some things that you should just probably stay away from. I'm Giles from Fitment Industries, wheels, tires, and suspension, fitmentindustries.com. And on today's episode of the build sheet, we're gonna be going over a few suspension modifications that you just don't do it. Before we go ahead and get into it, don't forget to subscribe, and if you haven't already picked up this shirt right here, the one that says BBS on it, and it's got the cool BMW on the back, I don't know what you're waiting for, because if you pick up the shirt, you automatically get entered in to win a free set of BBS wheels. Now that's no joke. You can find the link below. Head on over to fitmentindustries.com. Anyway, up first is something that I never thought would have existed, yet here we are talking about it. If you go to Google and type in how to lower your car, one of the first products that shows up in the shopping tab is something a little peculiar. Now, you would probably expect something along the lines of like coilovers or lowering springs, or maybe those coilover sleeve adjustability conversion kit things, but no, you get these adjustable coil spring lowering clamps. These monstrosities are basically small U-bolts with a clamp that get clamped to the coil spring and are tightened to compress the coil spring of your car, in turn lowering your car. And you're probably thinking that sounds a little bit sketchy, and that's because it is. When you take coil springs, especially a stock coil spring, and compress it to make it shorter, you're messing with quite a bit of stuff. Now, the main thing is your spring rate. With stock suspension, the standard coil springs, for the most part, have a pretty soft spring rate, which allows for a decent amount of travel of the suspension when going over bumps and whatnot. When you take that same spring rate and compress it to make it shorter, you still keep that same spring rate, but with a lower ride height, which can cause some issues with potentially running your tire and your wheel into things like fenders, other suspension components, and things like that. The other side is that I would imagine these things are not made up of the greatest quality. I mean, they're usually around 10 to 20 bucks for a set of these things, and something that looks like it would just kind of rust after a few weeks with some rain, or maybe through a winter or something like that, and then they're busting off and you're wondering why your car is jumping off the ground when you're going down the road. Just makes me question the strength and reliability of these things. Now, to go along with that, because sometimes, $20 is just too much to spend to lower your car. So the alternative is to opt out for the cheaper alternative, which is cutting your springs. Now, please don't cut your springs. Very similar to what we just talked about, lowering your car with the same amount of spring rate isn't always the greatest idea. You're still going to have a lot of travel. If you've ever ridden in a car with chopped springs, you know that they aren't comfortable by any means. They're not meant to be cut. Stop cutting your springs or heating your springs, because apparently that's a thing too. Max had a Lexus with heated springs. I didn't even know that was a thing. Your best solution to the last two modifications is to take the time, save up for some lowering springs that are actually designed for that purpose, to make your car lower, and they have the acceptable spring rate for having lower ride height. Lowering springs start out right around $270 to $300 for a decent set of like iBox or Tanes, which when all said and done is probably going to be a lot cheaper than the hospital bed that you're gonna end up in when you drive with chopped springs. Moving on, buying aftermarket parts can get pricey fairly quick. That's without saying. And when buying parts, looking at used parts is always a great place to start. Classifieds pages on different car forums or Facebook groups can be somewhat of a gold mine for people just wanting to get rid of old parts that they don't have a use for anymore. And within that, we do see suspension parts like coilovers pop up here and there. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to buy used coilovers. That wouldn't be fair, since fitmentindustries.com, wheels, tires, and suspension might come off a little biased. However, when you look at picking up a set of secondhand coilovers or any suspension components for that matter, just be a little careful. Be wary of things like rust and corrosion. Take a good look at the pictures. If you can, go look at them firsthand. Coilovers have this really cool function of being able to be adjusted as far as ride height goes. However, if the lock rings haven't been touched in years and have seen a winter or two, have fun busting your knuckles when it comes to adjusting them. Just be cautious. Or You know, we have a ton of coilover lowering springs and air suspension options at fitmentindustries.com. Moving on to the last topic of today, the search for what to look out for, stay away from when it comes to modifying your suspension. Something we have touched on in previous videos about cars coming off the lot today with some pretty decent suspension already. I take a look at cars like the newer Camaros or BMWs, AMGs, and things like that that have adjustable damping and all of that straight from the factory. The truth is there's some really good suspension coming out of the factories on a lot of vehicles today. And because of that, it has happened more often than not that someone goes right ahead and just rips all of that engineering and technology right the hell out of the car, and then they throw some other coilovers or something in, and they're like, man, this thing rides like garbage. And what happens is that it wasn't actually a downgrade from the stock suspension that was in the car. All in the case of lowering the car. Now, is that really a terrible thing? Well, I guess it's really in the eyes of the owner. If form is something more important to you than getting that look that you want, then by all means go ahead and do it. However, the general consensus, adding aftermarket parts to a car, it should make the car better. And adding aftermarket suspension to a car will make it handle better and feel better. However, that's not always the case anymore. You've actually seen a big switch from coilovers to lowering springs in recent years because of the fact that you can change the spring rate of the car while getting a lower ride height with lowering springs, but maintain the use of that stock functions like the mag ride or adjustable damping or anything of that sort. So don't accidentally downgrade your suspension for the sake of running something aftermarket. Do some research, watch some more of our videos, and then when you're all learned up on your suspension knowledge, you already know. That's gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, we have a huge variety of suspension options over at fitmentindustries.com for you to check out if you're interested in joining the Fitment Industries Street Team. You think we have what it takes? We'll also drop a link down below for you to fill out an app and see if you can make the cut. It's a fun program and we're looking to grow it even more, so go and check out that link down below. Also, BBS shirt too, free BBS wheels. Dope shirt, chance to win some wheels. That's it. I'm gonna go see if Steve's alive because I think I just heard something fall. I'm Gels, we'll see you later. Peace.